this workshop, we're going to be looking at creating groups and annotations to help drive a design for an optimization in SpaceClaim. So we're going to be opening up our keychain model into SpaceClaim. Now in this model, I want you to notice that in addition to all the solids, which are typically there, there's a plane with dimensions on it. For now, let's turn the plane off and look at just the solids that are there. And I'm going to go to the Groups panel to look at them. If we zoom in to the left side of the model, I'm going to use Pull, and I'm going to click on this cylindrical face. Notice we have a radius pop up. It says the size of the face, and as I make it larger and smaller, the radius changes. If I type in 0.5, it goes to 0.5. If I type in 1 millimeter, it goes to 1 millimeter. If I'm in the Pull tool and I select on this face, that blue box pops up on the screen. What that means, if I have a blue box on the screen, I can create a group. It's a good way to think about it. And this group is a driving dimension, meaning if I'm moving a face over here or making a different change, if I click on this group, it remembers what's selected, the tool I'm in, and the ruler dimension that's on screen currently. So I could just select on it and change this to 0.5. So you can change the dimensions here. And I can even rename this whole size. Now another thing you'll notice, if I click on this face with Pull and create a group, notice it makes a name selection. Name selection means that there's no dimension currently on the model, so nothing shows up. It just remembers that that is the selection that's there. This is also helpful for just remembering a selection or a group of faces if you want to frequently make changes to them. So I'm going to right click and delete this group. If I click on this face and make a ruler dimension, so let's say I make a dimension to this face back here, notice I have a blue box with this dimension on my screen. If I create a group now, it doesn't make a name selection. It makes a driving dimension. This is the distance from one face to the other, which I can change the value to a new amount, and it remembers again. If I'm doing something else somewhere else in the part, I can now edit the whole size quickly, make it 1 millimeter, and if I click on group 1, I can quickly change that from 8 to 7. And I can again edit the name of it and call it length. So really quick ways to get these groups selected. Now, as we're making these changes to the part, we can do a lot of different groups to help drive the design. One thing I want to point out, which is common, is let's add a round to this edge. So if I'm in Pull, I select on that, and I go to add a group. Remember, there's no blue dimension on the screen, so it's giving me a name selection, not a driving dimension. So I'm going to delete this group. If I click on Select, and I select on this round, there's a property in the panel that's here. This radius value is a value I can change here, making that 0.5, changes the value, and making it 0.25. If there's properties in the property panel, so for offset faces that are there, which have a thickness property, or rounds, which have a round size property, all of these are controlled in the properties panel. And if you select on the face with the Select tool, and you create a group, notice you have that value now. So now we can make that, again, 0.4, I can make it 1, I can change the length and the whole size really quick. So it's a really fast way to switch and toggle between these values. And again, these are available in Mode Frontier, ANSYS, a lot of different partners have these accessible through the API. Now the next thing I want to show you with this is let's turn back on those dimensions that I had sketched. And again, to make dimensions on this plane, if you go to the Detail panel, select on the plane, you can add dimensions to it. So if you wanted to add a dimension from the length between this edge and this one, you can do that just by selecting on two of them. I'm not holding down the Control key to add the dimension between those two faces. So just dimension on the plane, click once, click twice. So now that I have these dimensions that are here, let's look at something else. Let's say I want to pull on this face. Notice as soon as I go to pull on this face, all of these dimensions pop up. Notice as I pull this face how the dimensions change. If you click into these sparks, I can pull this face until this value equals 20, or this value equals 35. So different ways that you can access these values simply by typing the numbers into them. And again, so if I click on this face, and I click on this spark, I can use that group, I can use this value to create a group. So I'm using these driving dimensions to make a value, so I can switch it to 36, switch it to 40, switch it quickly to a different value, and use this to drive a design. Now one thing to notice is, let's say I'm moving these faces. Let's say I box select all of these faces because I want to move them at the same time. Notice that no spark comes up for us to edit. The reason for this is because no direction is chosen on the Move tool. I could be moving these faces upward, in the green direction, in the red direction. We have to give Move a direction. We have to choose one of them. So if I click the red arrow, notice all of the sparks pop up again. And I can use the red arrow, click on the spark, and create a group. So now I can move all of those faces until that value is 20, or this value is 25. And notice I can change this with pull until this value is goes from being 40, or goes to a different value like 46 or 50 or any other value I want to type in. So if I type in, say, 45, or I type in 50, we can change the value of that face. So I can go from one to the other really quickly. So I hope you've seen how you can use both of these tools, pull and move, to create driving dimensions and groups with both our ruler dimensions inside of move and pull and annotation dimensions. Thank you for watching.